Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Osprey, for those of you who might not have been here before. My name is Maria Himmelman. I am the executive director here. I would like to begin this evening by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the land of the Mi'kmaq people. And I'm going to do a real quick housekeeping, upcoming events here at the Osprey. So everyone's down here on the floor. So your fire exits are the big white doors here on your left and your right. And the bathrooms are out in the lobby to the right of the piano. And we have this is the end of a really, really busy week for me, but the summer is also busy. July 16th, we have Contratiempo, a flamenco premiere by Maria Osonde Flamenco Company. On July 29th, we have a dance here to start off Dock Street Days with Rankin McInnes. He is a band from Cape Breton. On July 31st, we have Best of Boxwood coming back. And on August 13th, we have Gordy McKeeman and his Rhythm Boys. And we're all very excited about the summer. All of these events are on our website and on Facebook. So please keep an eye on that. I keep those updated as much as possible. So we're very excited to be able to host Therese Cruz and her work that she did. And without further ado, Therese.
Hello, everyone. Ooh, it's just like a really big party, but not at my house. Well, thank you for coming tonight. This is really exciting. I don't know, I guess everyone's been asking me all week, are you excited? And I'm like, I don't know, should I be? Am I? But no, this is something that's, I think it's just because it's just a really big feeling that's taken over me, because this has been a long time coming. I think I did a preview of this book project at Musings last November. Is that correct, Melissa? Time is just gone. And it's in a book form now, so which is crazy. So yes, welcome to This Is Home, the book launch. This is actually a project that was put together by 20 Filipino-Canadian writers, artists, and community organizers from provinces across Canada. This anthology highlights the specific stories of individual Filipinos in some of Canada's biggest cities, also smallest towns, but and they echo the collective or overall situations of Filipinos in Canada and our history of migration, our current lived realities, and our vision for a better future for our community and for this country. So thank you again for coming. So more thank yous, because we are a culture of many thank yous. So in Tagalog, which is the language that I speak, and it's the official dialect that we speak in the Philippines, thank you is salamat. So mga pasasalamat is thank yous. First of all, thank you to Maria and the Osprey Arts Center for hosting me and Magkaisa Centre and to mark this wonderful event. There was the actual main book launch happened in Toronto on March 26th, which I unfortunately couldn't join them. So I decided, why not have one on the East Coast too? So thank you for that. Thank you to the Magkaisa Centre in Toronto, who has been really wonderful in supporting us through this journey. So it started off, this was actually a virtual writing workshop that it started off like in June of 2021. And so every week we would have like a, virtual meeting on Zoom about it, and as time went on, we put together the stories and the poems and the art that is in the book today. So thank you. Thank you to my family. Thank you to Mike, thank you to Eli, who can't be here today, since he's having fun at his friend's house. So I told him about the book. He was like, so is the book about cooking or jewelry? He was like, neither. So I said, you just have to read it for yourself. And thank you to wonderful friends and families which is everyone that's in here, really. Without you, I think I wouldn't feel at home here in Shelburne. And I think a big part of why I decided to write this story in particular that I'm going to read to you tonight is because of that, like welcoming, loving feeling that I've experienced that probably really is similar to the same feeling of love that I felt when I was in the Philippines, moving here in 2003. So, thank you. And I love you all. Sorry. So the journey that we had to go through to get to the book, it was really interesting. So this is my first foray into writing. I mean, I like writing in school and whatever, but this was a little bit different because it was obviously more creative and it was more of a way for me to express my feelings aside from making art, which a lot of you know that I do. So this was like it was really interesting because I never really thought that I could put it all into paper until I did the workshop, and so it was really good to have that and see that in front of my face. As some of you, like most of you know, I moved to Canada in 2003, so I was 15 at the time. So it was a very tricky age to kind of uproot yourself from being a teenager and everything, and things were happening for me at school, my friends were there, and then my family decided to, actually my mom and dad decided to uproot us, and of course, for the longest time, I didn't like that idea, because I was like, what's gonna happen to me? I had this like plan of how I was gonna do, I was gonna go through my, the 10 years after 50. So that was a little hard for me to come to terms with, but so picture 2003, that was the height of SARS. And we were all tired from packing up and moving, like really uprooting your whole life and moving it to a different country. So we didn't sleep, we didn't rest, and unfortunately I got sick on the plane. So my mom decided to ask for a thermometer from the flight attendant, which was probably the biggest mistake one could do in some sort of an epidemic situation. So what ended up happening was I did have a fever, I did have the cold, I did have the cough. So they ended up isolating me in business class. Yeah. So everyone in business class got an upgrade to first class. And I was alone. I know I laugh at it now, but it was really sad. So the stopover was our stopover from Manila, and then Tokyo, Detroit, and then Detroit, Toronto. So on the flight Detroit, the stopover happened, so before everyone got let out of the plane, they had to call the 4 paramedics in to escort me out of the plane. and took me on a wheelchair and sit me out into where everyone was coming out of the plane so they could see me. So I was like, why are we moving to Canada? So we finally made it to Toronto, and I hated my parents. I hated them so much. And I was like, why am I the only one experiencing this awful situation? So anyway, long story short, this is what happened after. I remember thinking about finally meeting my older cousins in Canada. We have never met in person before, but we've spoken on the phone countless times and wrote letters to each other. They usually described what life in Canada was like, what we should expect when we finally move, and would send us pictures of the velvety snow on the ground in the winter. These images made me feel both hesitant and excited. At the time, I was 15. I did not want to move halfway across the world, but the idea of being on an airplane was getting me through. A few more hours, I thought, then I get to meet them. After what seemed like a sleepless 30 hours later, we finally pulled into their driveway in Brampton around 9 p.m. or so. My aunt, Tita Amy, rushed to the door and we were immediately greeted by the smell of food. "Kumain na kayo?" she asked. That means, did you eat? Yeah. I was half asleep, tired from the long haul flight, but the familiar aroma of sweet jasmine rice woke me up and took me back to the Philippines. She served us with a creamy beef stew that had these mushrooms that were rather juicy. I ended up having a second helping. Everyone looked around me was speaking in Tagalog, and as I looked around, there were pieces reminiscent of the Philippines in the room. Of course, there was the quintessential karaoke machine, wicker baskets, and paintings done by Filipino artists, including my uncle. It would have made a few marks on the checklist from the popular book, You Know You're a Filipino If. The only difference is we were not in the homeland anymore. My older cousin, Ate Aya, as we knew her from letters and phone calls, comes downstairs and hugs us. It was like this was not the first time we were meeting. I felt this bizarre feeling of being at home, away from home. So that always is one of those, after all that craziness, the smell of food just brings me back. Yeah, food is definitely a big part of the Filipino culture, if you don't already know. I mean, I love food. Food is life. Yes, Roland. So, I would like to speak about today, because today I am really, really thankful for where I am and what I have become. And I've gone through a bit. I mean, and you probably will read in the book that there's some people that haven't had it easy, but I think I'm pretty blessed to, to be where I am today and be the person that I am. And a lot of it is because of the people that I surround myself with. So this other story that I wrote in the book is my love letter to Shelburne. Because this is where I call it my home And it's gonna be, I think, for a bit, so here goes. Finding my barangay. It was definitely love at first sight. We did share a brief history when I visited my friend in October of 2010. Since then, Nova Scotia, I was hooked. The smell of the salty air greeted me as I got out of the car. The fog was gently rolling out, revealing what was a sunny day. As soon as I walked in the door, Eli hugged me so tight he squished me. It's been almost 3 weeks since I last saw him. He and his dad stayed in Shelburne while I went back to Toronto to pack up all our belongings into the moving truck. Plus, I had to finish my last 2 weeks at work. Not once, after we decided to move, did I regret the decision. I was tired, yes. But now I felt like I was finally home. We lived at Eli's grandparents' for a bit, until I found us an apartment in town. It was one of those above a storefront. I've always wanted to live in one. Let's be honest though, finding a cool place to live in was hard regardless. And truly, I lucked out on this one in Shelburne because my hairdresser told me about it. When we were still in Toronto, we were forced to live in an apartment building outside the downtown core because that was all we could barely afford. At first, I worked as a cashier in the only grocery store in town, and a lot of people thought I was an international student. The town had a few of those because I stood out in terms of my Filipino ethnicity. They automatically assumed that. I started making friends by talking to people that I cashed out. Food was our common ground. It didn't take long for me, to find people that I had a lot in common with. As an artist, I gravitated towards other artists and creative folk, and I became a board member at the Arts Council after I saw their newsletter at the Chinese restaurant. Soon, I was offered a new job at a pharmacy. I took on working as a supervisor, and I was able to be more creative in the retail displays and such. I continued to make new friends and became more involved in the community through volunteering. There came a time when we had to look for a place to call our own. After a half a dozen showings, we looked at a place and put an offer on it. A few days later, the realtor called us to tell that our offer was accepted. At that moment, Eli's dad and I looked at each other and said, "I don't think we can do this." That was the beginning of the end of my marriage. I moved out when I found a place for Eli and I won't lie, there was a lot of pain in the process, but I managed to get to a point of being able to reconcile with myself and my now ex-husband. The good thing is, I never really felt alone because I had people rooting for me. I am grateful to this community I moved into. I have been able to create a life in it. I may look like an outsider, but yet I feel most at home here. To this day, on my walks to work, I hum my favorite song, Belle, from Disney's Beauty and the Beast, while I stare at the harbor in awe of what my life is like and how I never expected to find my barangay in the midst of rural Nova Scotia. So the word barangay was actually derived from the word balangay, which is a sailboat that could hold a small community, which was really crazy because their whole water and boats and all that stuff is so, it's perfect for Shelburne to describe it. And in present day, it's used as a term for the smallest form of government, a town or a village or subdivision. So that was the whole reasoning behind that title. Yes, so that's it. Unfortunately, there was supposed to be people that were part of the book that they were gonna come visit, but they couldn't. So they just sent us a brief message online. Of course, we will try something over. Is it? Sorry, Mary. Thank you. Sure. Go back.
To everyone at the Osprey Arts Centre attending the Shelburne, Nova Scotia launch of our anthology, This Is Home, an anthology of Filipino-Canadian writings. Congratulations, Therese Cruz, for Greetings to everyone at the Osprey Arts Centre attending the Shelburne, Nova Scotia launch of our anthology, This Is Home, an anthology of Filipino-Canadian writings. Congratulations, Therese Cruz, for putting this together. We were beyond happy a couple months ago when you got in touch with us about organizing a book launch in Nova Scotia. And thank you, Therese, as well, for being part of our workshops, contributing your history and perspective as a Filipino-Canadian and as an artist as well, sharing your journey finding and calling Nova Scotia home.
At the Magkaisa Centre, art and culture for us is accessible, inclusive, intergenerational, and participatory. Overall, for us, it's always focused on collective expression of our goal as a community organization to create, build knowledge, and build a political voice for the Filipino-Canadian community. After all, who will tell our history, experiences, our struggles, and our aspirations for a better society, if not us?
In June of 2021, we were still in the thick of the global COVID-19 pandemic. As Filipino-Canadians, the struggles we faced in the workplace as workers, whether in the senior homes, hospitals, or the service industries, became national issues. The platform to discuss what was going on in our community and around the world, much like everything else, was online. So it was in June 2021 that we launched our virtual writing program, This Is Home, a theme that could speak about the Filipino-Canadian realities and experiences, everything good, bad, ugly, a theme that could express the 4 generations of Filipinos living, working, and contributing to life in Canada. Though our stories are personal, they are pieces to the larger situation of our community that this anthology gives you a glimpse at.
We knew that after the end of the summer writing program that we would create a book. How would that happen was what we learned along the way. We were not publishers, we were not professional writers even, but we learned. We learned to edit, to write, and to create a book, all very much independently. It was a historic moment when we launched the book here in Toronto. As one of the earliest Filipino-Canadian books published in Canada, consider this launch in Nova Scotia as another momentous event that you all are taking part of. We wish you could be there. Enjoy the evening.
Thank you. And so I'll leave you with a quote. Ang hindi marunong lumingon sa pinanggalingan ay hindi makakarating sa paroroonan. Essentially, whoever doesn't acknowledge where they come from can't get to their destination or to where they're gonna be. So this is why I did this. Thank you again for coming. So the book is available for purchase tonight. They're $25, and I would gladly sign if people want me to. And feel free to help yourself to Filipino desserts as well outside, because you can't go to a Filipino thing without food. Thank you.